We're going to talk about making the perfect cup of tea. And this is sort of aimed at beginners if you are not used to making tea. A lot of us grew up with tea and you learn how to make it from your mom or whatever. But I'm going to assume you know nothing about it and you've decided that you want to start drinking black tea in sort of an English style. In other words, tea and milk, although you don't have to put the milk in. What do we need to do? Well, the first thing is got to figure out measurements. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is find out for my teapot how many cups. Okay, and tea is always measured in cups. You're not going to drink it in a cup, probably. You're probably going to get your favorite mug, have a big mug of tea in the morning. You might drink a cup, and that's fair enough. But to get the measurements straight, we want to know how many cups this teapot holds. So I'm going to grab my teacup, and I filled my pot up to where it would normally be. And what I'm going to do is measure out how many cups are in this pot. That's 2, 3, that's probably about it. Okay, I'm going to say that this teapot holds 4 cups. So when you read instructions on the web for making tea, they'll say something like, you know, a teaspoon per cup plus 1 for the pot. Here's the problem. These are 3 teaspoons I just grabbed out of our drawer. They are all a different size. And in fact, the one at the bottom is nearly double the amount of the one on the top. And the middle one is in between. So using a teaspoon out of the drawer is going to give you a weird measurement. So what I'm going to do is actually measure out based on our 4 cups in this pot, 4 level teaspoons. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1 for the pot. Okay, and I made sure that when I was putting this in here, they're level. Those actually, that is not level, but that's about a level teaspoon. Okay. So that would mean if I'm using, and you want to use the same spoon every time you do this, but if I'm going to use, say, this little spoon to measure my tea out, and I'm going to have it relatively heaped, okay, that is measured 4 teaspoons. All right, so it's going to be 1, 2, 3. Okay, so, and there's a little bit left, which I'm going to toss in there because I don't want to waste any. But you can see that your measurements are going to vary. So I would go measure it once using an actual measure, and then use the same spoon to ladle it out every time. Before we go any further, let's talk about tea. The tea I like best, I mean my favourite, is this Fortnum & Mason's breakfast brand. The thing about it is it makes a strong black tea. You can use PG Tips tea bags and they're not too bad. Honestly, they really don't taste as good as tea that's brewed. The reason I like it is it looks like organic matter when it's actually being made up. I'll talk about this in a second. I tend to buy it in these boxes. It's a little bit cheaper if you get it mail order. The boxes are 200 grams, the tins are 250 grams. But I think you've got about 50 grams in there for the tin. Use whatever tea you can get. There's lots of options out there. I get this from the Indian supermarket. It's great for work. Russian tea is quite nice. Often has flavorings in there from rose petals. It's a great drink to actually drink without milk. If you happen to live in England, you can go to Fortnum's or go anywhere else and get Taylor's of Harrogate or, you know, whatever brand you prefer, loose in whatever quantity you want. So if you go up to the tea counters in Fortnum's in Piccadilly, you can say, you know, please give me 500 grams of breakfast blend or however much you want of Earl Grey. If you buy a lot of it, what they tend to do is put it in 2 separate bags. Bear in mind too that some teas require a specific temperature. So for example, this mint tea, which is very nice in the evening because there's no caffeine in it. It wants to be brewed with water at 85 degrees Celsius, not 100 degrees Celsius. So black tea generally is going to want boiling water, but green teas and other teas are going to want a lower temperature. And if you use a higher temperature, what's going to happen is the tea is going to taste astringent or very bitter. You can actually get some pretty hardcore kettles out there. This is a kettle that I got that will heat water to different temperatures. Unfortunately, it's all in Fahrenheit. This is boiling. But I can also, if I want, say, 175 degrees Fahrenheit, 160 degrees Fahrenheit, and I have to go look up what that is in Celsius. So generally, I use this setting for boiling and this setting over here for green teas. So check your tea, see what temperature it wants. Okay, our kettle's boiled now, so... Okay, the first thing is I don't want my tea leaves in there. This is a handy strainer. It means I don't need to use a tea strainer, which is great. So this is just an insert and it's laser perforated, and I put the tea inside that. So I fill my pot about half full. I'm just going to swirl that around to warm the pot. And we'll dump that out in the sink. Okay, now I put my tea in and I fill my pot up to wherever I want to fill it to. So really we're trying to make sure that we have the same amount of water in here as when we measured how much water went in the pot. I put the lid on, and then this is really important. You need a tea cozy. So the tea cozy keeps the pot warm while the tea's brewing. And ideally what we want to do is brew the tea for 2.5 minutes. Okay, our 2.5 minute time is almost up. Let's go see what our tea came out like. So we can just lift off our tea cozy and pour our tea. That looks like a really good color to me. Now there's a huge argument about whether to put the milk in first or last. I'm not going to go there. I tend to like to put it in last because then I don't put too much in. So we'll just put a little spot of milk in. See that mix up. A couple of my favorite biscuits. And it's tea time. So if you've never made tea before, hopefully that takes you through the process. Enjoy. I love a cup of tea. Have it at breakfast, have it in the middle of the day, have it at lunchtime. Don't usually drink it in the evening because I'm getting older now and it keeps me awake. Have a nice cuppa.